Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the United Kingdom, and today's project is using the lovely honeybee stamp set and coordinating dies to make this pretty little gift box here. And it's a gift box for a lovely Burt's Bees lip balm. I spotted these the other day, and they kind of don't look particularly exciting as they are. You know, I mean, they're not massively expensive, but they're not, not just your Poundland jobs either. But they are a lovely sort of beeswax based product, and I love the fact that it was in the sort of orange blossom. So I've coordinated that with Mango Melody, and they've got this other lovely lavender and honey one as well. So of course, do you know what? Couldn't resist pairing it with our honeybees and with our Golden Bee Designer Series paper. So this one was Mango Melody, and I'm going to make this one using a bit of Gorgeous Grape. So let's get started. Okay, so I have done some stamping and die cutting in advance. Lots of my videos show you that, and I'm happy to talk you through that, but I just wanted to really show you the construction of the shadow box today. So these little tin lip balms are just under 5 centimetres across by just under 2 centimetres high, but they're great little shape. So let's get started then. You're going to need some Designer Series paper, 20.7 by 20.7, and a strip of 8 by 21 centimetres of Designer Series paper. I've used the Golden Honey, and I'm going to do a bit of colouring on that as well. So let's get on. So this is pretty, these boxes, they're not difficult to get once you get the hang of them, but they're really straightforward. Just take your time with them, and do what I say. So we're starting off with our scoring on the right hand side. So I'm scoring at 1.4 and 3.2 on this on this side, and I'm going to repeat that on all 4 sides. So 1.4 and 3.2. And you'll see why, basically I'm doing that because it just makes it easier to do all the set this side first, and then flip it and do measuring all on the left hand side as well. And by just taking a millimetre off when you're creating the box, that's the little flap that goes underneath to make our shadow box. So you've got 2 lots of score lines all the way. Now we're going to go onto this side, and we're going to score at 4.7 and 6.5. So away we go. 4.7 and 6.5. And there are a couple of ways to make these kind of shadow boxes. This is the sort of single piece of card method with your cutting away. I have got another method that you can use, where you create the sides separately. So I'll try and do that. Now I use that one particularly for larger ones, where otherwise you'd end up using a really massive piece of card. So once you've done that, you're just going to, on 2 sides, so choose which ones, doesn't really matter which. You're going to score at 8 centimetres to the second score line. So you go 8 centimetres. Sorry, top and bottom, I should have said. So just flip it, so top and bottom 8 centimetres, but only to that second score line. Okay. So you're going to end up with 4 score lines on all of the sides, and then on the top and the bottom you're going to end up with an extra 2 little score lines. You can hopefully just see just that second score line. Pop my trimmer away. Now I find it best to actually go through and start reinforcing some of these, because that helps you see where the lines are when you come to do some cutting. So we're just going to run our bone folder over those. So it's just the full length lines that we're looking at here. And what I'll do is on my blog I'll put a photograph of what it looks like when you've trimmed it away as well, just to give you an idea. So with our snips we're going to come in and we're going to cut down those 2 short score lines, like so. Then from where that line joins, just cut diagonally across. So just point them straight across on the diagonal like so. And then the next bit we're going to create a couple of little flaps. So I'm going to cut down here, I'm then going to cut across and down, and then cut like so. Okay, so we're going to go down on both sides, diagonally on both, straight down, and that comes to the central line, but you're going to cut a little tab, so across there and all the way down. So you'll see this, it's a wild day out there, it is so dark. I don't think it's got light today. This is our Storm Dennis. We had Cara last weekend, this week we've got Dennis. So yeah, I know it doesn't compare to kind of hurricanes, but you know, it is a little bit wild out there, to say the least. So what better excuse to stay indoors and craft, hey? Other than the fact that the light's rubbish, although the light's never good in my, sadly, I don't have the luxury of really good light in my craft room. So this is what your piece is going to look like. These tabs, just notch out the sides, like so. And I'm going to be recommending that you use a bit of red tape on these as well. So that's the kind of most time consuming bit, really. And what you need to do now is we start creating our sides. So do the straight sides first, and what you're going to do is put some glue on these bits here. So as I said, use red tape. If you're at all nervous around with red tape because you are worried about it just sticking where you don't want it to, pop a bit of wet glue on top just to help you at the start. That works really well. But with these, to be honest with you, you'll see how I do them, and you don't need to worry. So take your red tape off. You'll see I've kind of folded that in half. And all you're going to do is fold one underneath and press in place. And what that's doing is that's sticking that to the underside. So you can see there, we're going to create a little box. So you're in effect putting that edge up against the inner edge of the box, like so. And then you'll see you've got a nice little box shape coming up. Poke your tabs in. That just helps give it a little bit of rigidity. And then we're going to do a similar thing with the other ones, but with the addition of a little bit of wet glue. So fold that outer tab in to get our red tape on. Like so. And then this one is going to fold and just tuck in there. And this is where we need just a little bit of wet glue. If you've got some quick drying glue, just pop some on these corners here, like so, and a little bit on the edges of our tabs. Okay, away we go. Tape off. Side flaps in, nice and square. And that creates our little box. Just pushing that in, nice and firm. You see there, it really is straightforward. Just hold it a second for the glue to take, and then we can do the other end. So as I said, this is the one where I find I like to have a little bit of wet glue overall. It just helps it slide into place a little bit, As I say, just make sure if you don't do what I've done, you can see there I haven't quite held it down well enough. So I'm just going to pop my bit of wet glue here. Then up with the sides, like so, nice and square, and pop that. I'm just pushing that into the far edge of my box so I can then pop it down. And if you've got a fine tip nozzle like this, you can always add a little bit of glue afterwards just in there to hold it in place. So there's our basic box. I'm just going to keep my fingers on that for a moment. Why is it things never glue properly when you're on video? I'm making a right dog's breakfast of that one, aren't I? Never mind, we're almost there. There we go. Right. So that is perfect then to pop our little lip balm into. And while that's drying to one side, we can do our little wrap. And what I'm going to do with the wrap is actually colour it. And all I've got here, very straightforward, is a makeup brush. I've just been experimenting with these. I've seen a couple of my fellow demonstrators use them, so I thought I'd give it a go. And they're just a nice brush, just ink it up, and then coming from the outside, just then brush it all over, and it gives a lovely soft effect. And by coming off the edge first, you don't get that sort of really harsh look. And it's a lovely way to kind of change the colour of these foiled papers. They take the ink so beautifully. And you can add a bit of shading if you wanted to make it a bit darker. You could come in like this. And that's just using some gorgeous grape, as you can see there. So this bit actually doesn't, I experimented with scoring it as well, and as is often the case with these, I find that actually scoring isn't the best way to do it. You get a better fit if you come in and do it sort of manually, just by following the nature of it. So take your 8cm strip and just make sure it's kind of roughly speaking in the middle. And then all I'm doing is just creasing on the edge. And once I've creased, make sure it's square, line it up, and just repeat all the way around. So as I say, I did try with some scoring measurements, but I just found it kind of, it didn't. It was more effort than it was worth for the nature of the fit that you get. And you can just, as I say, by doing that, squeezing that DSP into place, you get a really nice snug fit on your box. And say 8cm is just, perfect to overhang. So again, a little bit of tape on that, whatever tape you have to have to hand. I've got a bit of fuse here. And there's our basic box, which obviously slides up for our little lip balm. And then all we've got left to do is to do the decoration. So I've got my golden honeybee hive, which I've stamped here. This was actually in a bit of crushed curry, and that was to kind of represent the other side of the lavender, the orange bit. So I'm just going to pop that up on a couple of dimensionals. And then I've got a piece of gold foil here which I wanted to show you. So this piece actually didn't quite die cut properly, but I rather liked it because it was as if they were already filled up with some of the honey, and it also gives you a really nice sort of place to kind of put a bit of glue on to glue it in place. So that's just a bit of gold foil using the die cuts, which I'm just going to pop in here. And the reason I'm turning that round is because it would bother me that it's not quite the same orientation as the others. And I've got one here, so just that's overhanging. You can leave it overhanging if you want, but I'm just going to snip that off. Then I thought I'd come in with my bees, so I've stamped and die cut one here, which I'm going to come in with a little bit of, I think this is actually Daffodil Delight, just to kind of add a bit of colour. to our bee body. And I was wondering about sort of layering that up, which I might. No, I think I'll just leave it as it is. But I am just going to pop the wings up on that and add a dimensional behind, or a couple of dimensionals. It would be lovely to add a bit of Wink of Stella. I've done that on a couple projects that I've done to kind of give the effect of a shimmer on the wing. My Wink of Stella is in my pencil case, which I haven't got here. I've stamped and die cut this little flower here, and just to kind of add to the accent, I'm going to add a bit of purple. I'm not sure that will show up terribly well. Being the gorgeous grape, it is quite dark, so I perhaps would have been better to create a sort of a yellow flower looking at that now, but you know, hey, it doesn't matter. We can create these things as we go along, and again, a single dimensional is all you need on there, and you can just fit it behind. And then finally our little bee. So we've got our queen bee and our little worker bee. Those poor little guys that do all the hard work. And then what I'm going to do is to create the sentiment, I'm using the sentiment that's on my that's on the stamp set, which is thinking of you, sweet friend, but I just wanted the thinking of you. So all I've got is literally a merest scrap of Whisper White, and I'm just going to ink up my sentiment and then just trim it. So, you know, it's very easy to do. I'm just going to come in with my snips on this one and trim it quite close to the tops of those letters, like so. And then I'm just going to trim just right along the top of the sweet friend section. There we go. Possibly not as straight as it might have been. Hey, there we go. And then again, with these mini dimensionals, they're perfect for adding these little sentiments. Don't even need to add a layer onto that if you don't want to. But there you have a thinking of you pair of little shadow boxes to hold a super Burt's Bees treat. There you go. Thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon. If you'd like to purchase some of the honeybee products, pop along to my shop, flutterbyheidi.co.uk, and follow the links. I'll write the dimensions on there as well in centimetres. I haven't done it in inches. If I get around to working it out, obviously I'll add them on there too. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get to see when I post my next project. Thanks for watching. Bye now.